Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Thursday. I hope you all are doing really well. We're going to sit down and talk about the latest Everton transfer news and rumours today. We are within the first week of January, which means the transfer rumours come flying in thick and fast. We're going to talk about Digne and his future and how Everton have received some interest from Premier League clubs for the French international left-back. We're also going to talk about former Liverpool player Philippe Coutinho and how he has been linked with a number of Premier League clubs, including Everton, because why wouldn't he be linked with Everton? We're going to talk about Longstaff at Newcastle and the links rumouring him. Also surrounding him being rumoured with a move to Everton. We're going to talk about all of it today. We're also going to talk about Jean-Philippe Gbamin. The Liverpool Echo have released an article as to state that Everton will allow Jean-Philippe Gbamin to leave the football club this month. The club are looking for a loan move, but if a permanent move becomes available, then the club would be open to selling Jean-Philippe Gbamin permanently. But we'll talk about that one a little bit later on in the live stream as well. I hope you all are doing really well. As always, with all the live streams, don't forget to be getting involved in the live comments, letting us know what your thoughts and feelings are towards everything that we are going to speak about. We'll be jumping in and out the live comments for the remainder of the live stream, so get your thoughts in there. And if you're watching and you're enjoying, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. If you don't follow us on Twitter, by the way, I don't often plug our Twitter on here. I don't know why, I just don't. But if you don't follow us on Twitter, we are less than 70 followers away from 10,000 followers. So if you could go over there and drop us a follow, it's at MightyBluesYT on Twitter. But if you type in the Mighty Blues, it will come up there as well. Thank you all very much. Anyway, let's get straight into the transfer news. Let's get straight into the transfer rumours. That's why we're here. We're not here to hear me talk about how many followers we've got on Twitter or how many people we've got in the live comments. We're here to talk about transfer rumours, and the big news and the big rumours at the moment are surrounding Digne. Obviously, Everton earlier on in the week confirmed the signing of Ukrainian left-back Vitaly Mykolenko. We've known this one has been in the pipeline for quite some time, and we've known this one has been pretty much done and dusted for quite some time as well, and it's left a massive cloud surrounding Digne and his future at the football club. Obviously, we know there's a situation going on between Digne and Everton. We don't quite know the ins and outs of that situation. You know, the narrative on social media at the moment is that the player has fallen out with the manager because of tactics. That might be the case, or it might be something else. There might be, a deeper sort of problem lying within Digne's situation at Everton Football Club, whether that's international football, his French pace, wanting to play in Europe. We don't really know at the moment. But one thing we do know is it's increasingly likely that Digne will leave Everton Football Club within the next couple of weeks or so. And the big question over the last couple of weeks was, where was he going to go? Chelsea were rumoured to be interested. We sat down a couple of weeks ago and spoke about Chelsea wanting to bring him in on loan and how that makes an awful lot of sense for Chelsea. They're currently without a top quality left back for the rest of the season, obviously after Ben Chilwell picked up an injury and then sustained a setback in that injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. So it wouldn't make sense for Chelsea to come to Everton and try and make a loan move happen for Digne, in order to bring themselves in a Premier League experienced international left back for the rest of the season, and then when Ben Chilwell returns to fitness, they can move him back to Everton. However, Everton very clearly weren't interested in a loan move for Digne, and rightly so, in my opinion. If Digne is gonna leave the football club, then I don't see any way in which he leaves not on a permanent deal. He's 29 years old now, 28 years old. And if he is to leave Everton Football Club, Everton should be looking to get as much money as possible. Everton should be looking to try and maximise a profit. If he goes to Chelsea for 6 months and doesn't have a good 6 months, and then comes back to Everton and again doesn't want to be here for whatever reason, we're going to have much more difficulty trying to sell him off the back of a bad loan spell, rather than selling him at the minute, in January at the moment, when teams will bid for him and teams will be interested in him. And there are a couple of Premier League teams that are said to be be interested in bringing Luca Digne to their football clubs. Newcastle United being one of them, who seem to be quite proactive on it at the moment. However, Luca Digne doesn't seem very interested in that move for probably obvious reasons. The fact that they're A, fighting relegation, B, probably likely to go down, and C, if the narrative surrounding Luca Digne wanting European football is to be believed, then why would he go to a side that is struggling so much in the league? West Ham are a team that are said to be interested in Luca Digne, which would make a little bit more sense, I suppose, for the player, getting a move down to London, living in the capital of the country, and also playing for the team that are playing in Europe and likely to finish in a European position come the end of the season. Would make much more sense than moving to Newcastle. And of course Chelsea, as we mentioned. Chelsea seem a little bit standoffish in regards to what Everton want. I don't think Chelsea want to pay the money for Luca Digne, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I think if Everton turned around and said, we were open to loan moves, I think Chelsea had come in instantly and try and make that deal happen, but they're a little bit reluctant on spending £25 million on a left back that is going to play for 6 months and then will be second choice to Ben Chilwell. So let's get into the rumours anyway. That's just an overview of the sides that are interested. You might be sitting there thinking, Cam, you're talking absolute nonsense. Where are these rumours coming from? Have you just made them up? Are you just sitting there in your bedroom making transfer rumours up? Well, no, I'm not. The first transfer rumour regarding Luca Digne comes from TalkSport, and TalkSport have reported yesterday evening that Newcastle are lining up a move for Everton's Luca Digne. I thought that one was really, really interesting. Newcastle, of course, on the brink of securing a deal for right back Kieran Trippier from Atletico Madrid. There's been a lot of discussion over the last couple of days as why Kieran Trippier is swapping, Atletico Madrid, European football, a top team in Spain, a team that challenged for the league title, if not win the league title near enough year in, year out. Why he's swapping that for a Newcastle side that, let's be honest, will be a miracle if they stay in the Premier League after this season. But they're ambitious, and their new owners are very clearly ambitious in what they want, and they've gone out and brought in an experienced right back. I wouldn't have been happy personally with Kieran Trippier coming to Everton because I think it's short-termism. But again, he'll come in, he'll do a decent job. I'm sure he'll give everything. I'm not going to sit here and say he's only joined for the money, but there you go. But Newcastle are trying to bring in Luca Digne as well. TalkSport, as I said, reporting that Newcastle United are lining up a move for Everton's Luca Digne. Luke Edwards of The Telegraph then reported about an hour later that a loan with an option to buy in the summer for Luca Digne is under discussion by Newcastle. So Newcastle very clearly wanting to bring Luca Digne to the football club, very clearly adamant on making this happen, which I thought was really, really interesting. Fabrizio Romano, who had said the day before that there was no chance Luca Digne will be going to Newcastle, he said Luca Digne will decide his next club soon. He'll leave Everton with Premier League move likely, but he's not going to Newcastle despite rumours. Not even an option. No way. Chelsea are interested since weeks, for weeks, but no official talks have opened with Everton. Again, really, really interesting this, because then it quieted down for about 24 hours or so. So again, it went a little bit quiet overnight. So we knew that Newcastle were interested in bringing in Luca Digne, but Luca Digne wasn't quite as keen on that move. As I said, probably for obvious reasons. Their positioning in the league, going to Newcastle and playing in a team that are likely to be relegated isn't going to do much for Luca Digne's hopes of starting for France in the World Cup next year. As I said, again, Fabrizio Romano reporting that Luca Digne is likely to leave Everton this January. Nothing that we were I suppose, surprised about or confused about. I think we've known for a while now that because of the situations, that are going on at the football club, Luca Digne is likely to leave. So it's not a big surprise that teams like Chelsea are interested in him, as we said a couple of weeks ago, and teams like Newcastle, who I didn't want to make a statement. For Newcastle, it would be a real statement if they could bring in a player of the calibre of Luca Digne. Luca Digne, who obviously is a top quality left back, let's not get it twisted. Whether or not people agree that, you know, it's the right time for him to leave Everton Football Club. I think that's a different discussion. If Everton can get upwards of £25 million for a 29-year-old left-back, when you look at it from a business standpoint and not from a purely emotional standpoint, then that is a good deal. You know, Everton will have replaced Luca Digne with a young 22-year-old that would have cost much less. We'll have made the profit on him, and ultimately we'll be selling a 28, 29-year-old player for upwards of £25 million. Business-wise, that's not a bad deal whatsoever. Taking the emotion out of it, taking the, you know, the relationship that Evertonians have with Luca Digne away from it, in terms of running a successful football club, this is the type of business that Everton should be looking at doing. However, again, as I said, Newcastle clearly wanting to make a statement, clearly trying to go out there and almost make a statement of intent to the rest of the league, is to say that they're serious. But I just don't see Luca Digne going to Newcastle. I really, really don't. And that's no disrespect to Newcastle. I know a lot of Newcastle fans jumped on Fabrizio Romano's back over the last 24 hours or so because of, you know, him tweeting out things like there's no way Luca Digne will go to Newcastle, and asked the question as to why. Well, the reality is that yes, money is a massive you know, talking point in regards to footballers and transfers, and, you know, who they going to sign for next and how much they're going to get paid. Money is a massive decision maker in these types of situations. But Luca Digne might get paid 200 grand a week at Newcastle. If he goes to Chelsea, he'll probably get paid around about that as well. He mightn't get paid as much, but he probably get paid still a nice enough, you know, sum. If he goes to West Ham, I'm sure he'll get paid a nice enough sum as well. And it all, I suppose, surrounds around what the reasons is that Luca Digne wants to leave Everton Football Club. You know, does he want to leave Everton Football Club purely because he's fallen out with the manager? You know, he doesn't want to be here anymore because of Rafa Benitez. Well, if that's the case, then he's more likely to just want to get out and go and sign for anybody, isn't he? He's more likely to want to join a side like Newcastle if the reason he wants to leave Everton is because he just wants out of here because he hasn't got a good relationship with the manager. I don't particularly believe that to be the case. I think there's something deeper going on here, and I don't know anything more than what anybody else knows. I'm not privy to any other type of, you know, knowledge or information, but I don't think this situation is as simple as Luca Digne not being happy with the way Rafa Benitez sets his teams up or plays football and therefore wanting to leave Everton. I think there's maybe something to do with the World Cup coming up, maybe something to do with wanting to play European football, and if those, you know, things are in place and those two are the case, then he's not going to want to go to a Newcastle, is he? Who are challenging to stay up in the Premier League at the moment and are absolutely light years away from European football. So it wouldn't make sense for Luca Digne to not want the Newcastle move if his aspiration was to go and play in a team fighting for Europe or playing in Europe, or if his goals were to ensure that he's guaranteed a place in that French team for the World Cup next year. Going to a Newcastle side that are struggling and likely to be relegated isn't really the best move. We will get into the live comments very, very shortly, by the way, so keep getting your comments in. Gortz has become a member of the stream. Thank you very much, of the channel, sorry. Thank you very much, Gortz. Really, really do appreciate that. If you want to become a member, you can use the join button, which is next to the subscribe button. It's also in the description of yesterday's video, so if you're wondering where the button is and it's not showing, if you go into the description of yesterday's video, there's a link to join the channel. It's only 99p, it's the cheapest I can make it, but I really, really do appreciate all of the support. And if you don't want to join the channel and you could just hit that subscribe button, that would mean a massive amount to me. And if you're enjoying this live stream, please do hit that like button. So as I said, we went in overnight, nothing much was said. Newcastle seemingly interested in Luca Digne. Luca Digne not too keen on that move by all accounts, but looking more and more likely that he's going to leave Everton this summer. And then we got in, this winter, and then we got into yesterday. And all of a sudden, things started to kick off a little bit more, didn't they? According to Sky Sports, Keith Downey from Sky Sports, he reported yesterday that Newcastle have made a £22.5 million bid for Luca Digne, with Sean Longstaff offered to Everton as part of the deal. However, left-back Luca Digne has indicated he would prefer to move elsewhere, with London duo Chelsea and West Ham interested. This triggered Fabrizio Romano to come back and say, again, Luca Digne is not going to join Newcastle in January. He has different plans. No way. Chelsea is still taking time to decide on the left-back situation. Other Premier League clubs moving on Digne. He is leaving Everton this summer. Now, this become really really, really interesting when Sky Sports' Keith Downey from Sky Sports, reported again about an hour later that Everton want Sean Longstaff and have made a bid. Newcastle are keen to keep the midfielder. Talks have taken place over Digne and Newcastle are interested. However, no official bid has been placed. So Keith Downey sort of contradicting himself there. Literally an hour earlier, he said that there'd been a £22.5 million bid that had been in place. Now he's saying, well, not now, but again, an hour after, he was saying that there was no official bid, but Everton were interested in Sean Longstaff, of course, of Newcastle United. We'll talk about Sean Longstaff in a moment. Craig Hope from the Daily Mail then reported that Rafa Benitez wants Sean Longstaff at Everton, and Everton have made an offer, although the latest from Newcastle this week was no players are going out yet. Newcastle interested in Luca Digne, but no formal bid yet. Discussions taking place, although Digne prefers the London move. So again, it's all shaping up at the minute for the story being that Everton are interested in Sean Longstaff of Newcastle. Newcastle are interested in Luca Digne of Everton. However, Luca Digne isn't really interested in going to Newcastle. He would prefer a move to London. As I said before, would make sense. The two clubs that are seemingly interested in him in London being Chelsea and West Ham. One team are, Champions League winners last year, European champions, will no doubt be playing in Europe next season and maybe even challenging for the Premier League next season. And the other in West Ham, playing in Europe, doing really well at the moment, good structure there. And obviously both moves would mean a move to the capital for Luca Digne, which will, I'm sure, be more appealing than the northeast. No disrespect to the northeast, but it's the same with the northwest of England. More often than not, these footballers, when they're given the opportunity to move to the capital, they snatch it with both hands. Mike Starforth of the Shields Gazette, which I believe is a newspaper. He's a Newcastle reporter for a newspaper in the northeast. He said that Everton have made a bid for Newcastle United midfielder Sean Longstaff, and it has been rejected. Newcastle hope to agree a new contract with Longstaff as his current contract expires at the end of the season. So again, really, really interesting there regarding Sean Longstaff. It appears that Everton are interested in bringing him in and trying to pursue this deal. Jack Rosser, who is a football writer for The Standard, he come out only a couple of hours ago and said West Ham are considering a move for Luca Digne this month, but would have to break their wage structure in order to sign him. So West Ham seemingly interested in a move for Luca Digne as well. And that is about the latest that we're up to on the Luca Digne situation. Newcastle seemingly the side that are, I suppose, most interested in bringing Luca Digne in, most serious about it. As I said, they've recently, of course, signed or will be signing Kieran Trippier over the next coming days or so. Again, experienced, fullback, played in at Atletico Madrid for the last couple of years, won league titles over there, obviously formerly of Tottenham, Premier League experience. So Newcastle are clearly trying to make a statement. They've obviously saw an opportunity to move for a player who is wanting out of his current club. Now, as I said before, I really, really, really don't like. I really, really don't think Luca Digne will join Newcastle this winter. I agree with Fabrizio Romano. I think he will leave Everton. I do think he will leave Everton, but I just simply can't see him wanting to go and join a side that are so close to going down this season, aren't they? Let's be perfectly honest with you. One win all season, which isn't great whatsoever, and they will struggle, as I said before, with no disrespect to Newcastle intended whatsoever. It will be an absolute miracle if Newcastle stay in the Premier League this season. I do think we're more and more likely to see Luca Digne move to a fellow Premier League club as the days go on. Obviously, last week there was a couple of rumours surrounding teams in Italy being interested in him, but they've sort of quietened down a little bit. West Ham seemingly have popped up, and Chelsea are the team that continue to pop up as well. I know Fabrizio Romano has said that Chelsea still aren't quite decided on the left-back situation, but I think the reason for that is Chelsea are desperate for Everton to lose Luca Digne on loan rather than a permanent. I don't think Chelsea would want to sign Luca Digne for the 20-odd million pounds that Everton would want for him. knowing the fact that as soon as Ben Chilwell returns to fitness, Luca Digne will just be sitting on the bench being his understudy. So I think if Everton were open to a loan deal, I think he would have potentially already left by now to go to Chelsea. It works for Luca Digne, of course. He's going to a side, playing in the Champions League, European champions. Okay, they might be challenging for the league title this season, but they're certainly up there, challenging for the Champions League. They were absolutely ruthless last night against Tottenham in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. So the Chelsea move would you could see why that would be so attractive to Luca Digne, but it seems at the moment that Chelsea aren't quite sure on spending the money that Everton would want for the French left back. Newcastle seem quite adamant on spending that money. Newcastle seem quite okay with bidding what Everton wants. However, the player himself doesn't seem interested in the move to Newcastle, and West Ham at the moment are only just, I suppose, coming into the equation surrounding this one. So it's definitely interesting. It's definitely starting to heat up. I think within the next couple of weeks or so, Luca Digne will have officially left Everton Football Club, and we'll be sitting here talking about whoever he has signed for. As I said earlier on, it really does depend on what Luca Digne's reasoning for leaving Everton is. And don't get me wrong, Luca Digne might want to leave Everton because he's had a falling out with Rafael Benitez and might just want to get away, but still not want to join Newcastle because of the situation that they're in. It doesn't mean that because Luca Digne doesn't want to join Newcastle, that means that he's got, it's nothing to do with a falling out with the manager. It might still be to do with a falling out with the manager. He might just not want to go and join a side that is so close to the relegation zone, only won one game all season and are likely to be playing Championship football next season. You can understand why Newcastle are wanting to make this deal happen. Obviously, because they're wanting to bring in a top quality Premier League experienced international left back who will undoubtedly improve their team, and as well will provide them with somebody that can continuously create chances and create opportunities for the likes of Callum Wilson and Alan St-Maximin and those players that play in the forward line for Newcastle. So it makes sense that Newcastle would want him. Of course it does. Of course it makes sense that a team bottom of the league with only a 1 win this season want to bring in a player that brings such quality. It is disappointing that this looks like the way that Luca Digne will be leaving Everton. It really is. Considering only 8 months ago he was signing a new contract and talking about Everton as the perfect marriage, and talking about the relationship he has with Evertonians and this, that and the other. It's disappointing to see that it's likely to be all over. As I said it a couple of weeks ago, I'd have much rather Luca Digne had have gone abroad, maybe to Italy, maybe to Spain, maybe elsewhere, because playing in the Premier League, he will probably do what most, well, not what most, but he would probably do what would be the typical Everton thing to do, and that would be leave the football club and go on and be absolutely unbelievable for, Chelsea or West Ham or Newcastle, whoever it may be. But the reality of the situation is Luca Digne hasn't had a good season so far, based on performances on the pitch. You can like Luca Digne as much as the next Evertonian. You can want him to stay. You can be disappointed about this situation, but the reality is he hasn't had a good season so far. He's put in mediocre performance after mediocre performance, and he's not been alone. There's been plenty of other players that have put in those types of performances as well, and he's working under a manager who's drastically underperformed, and I really don't know how he is still in a job. But from a business point of view, and trying to take the emotion out of it, because with an emotional head on, with the head of an Evertonian, it is disappointing. I love Luca Digne. Luca Digne is one of my favourite Everton players. Luca Digne was one of those players that you knew on his day could, was one of the best on the pitch, would create chances, and you sort of look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin returning to the first team, you look at Richarlison returning to the first team in coming weeks, and you think, well, if you've got Luca Digne firing and creating chances and being able to put the ball in the right area and create chances for those players, then we'll be, we should be okay. We'll start to score goals again. So the emotional side of it is disappointing that it seems to have ended this way for Luca Digne, because he is a player who had a good relationship with fans. He is a player who, spoke openly about how much he appreciates the fans and he loves the fans and the song that the fans sing and stuff like that. And there's definitely, a situation that has taken place here that has changed all of that. Now, whether that situation is the manager and the manager's tactics, that's what's being reported in some newspapers, and that's what the very much the situation, or very much, the story on social media is running with at the moment. But it mightn't be that. Luca Digne's attitude might have changed over the last couple of months or so. Luca Digne's aspirations might have changed. He might have turned around one day and said, no, do you know what? I deserve to be playing European football here, so I want out. I want to go and play for a team that are either playing in Europe or are, likely to be playing in Europe over the next 12, 18 months or so, and that isn't Everton. You don't know the full situation. Obviously, something has gone on to prompt Everton to go out and proactively bring in a replacement for Luca Digne before he's even left, because when do Everton ever fucking do that? It's taken us 5 years to sign a replacement for Seamus Coleman, and we've only just brought in one of them. When do Everton ever go out and replace players before they've even left? So obviously something has gone on, which has gotten to the point where the club and the player have both sort of, probably sat down at a table. Now, whether that's the manager and the player, or whether that's somebody else at the club and the player, have obviously sat down at a table and gone, this isn't going to work. We'll if we get a suitable bid or a suitable offer, we'll allow you to go, and we'll go and look for, a replacement in the meantime. And as I said, fair play to the club. The club have been very proactive in bringing in Vitaly Mykolenko to replace Luca Digne. So it is, with the emotional head on and with the head of an Evertonian, it's disappointing to see Luca Digne leave. Of course it is, because on his day he's a top quality player. But when you look at it from a business stand, and you have to look at it from a business point of view, because I've sat here on a number of occasions over the last 3 or 4 years of doing this channel and criticised Everton for again, signing the wrong type of players and giving the wrong type of players big contracts, and making awful business decisions and making awful recruitment decisions, and when it goes wrong, and when Everton do something wrong, we sit here and we criticise it. Can we now sit here and say Everton selling a 28, 29-year-old left-back who hasn't been particularly great all season, and okay, last season he created a lot of chances in the early parts of the season, but the more the season went on, I think he sort of fell off a little bit. Can we sit here and on one hand criticise Everton for not making the right recruitment decisions, and on another hand sit here and say, if we receive a £25 million bid for a 28-year-old left back, it would be stupid to sell? Because I don't particularly think it would be stupid to sell it, as hard as it is and as emotional as it is, and as disappointing as it is to see it end this way for Luca Digne, with clearly a falling out with the manager or whatever else after signing a new contract in the summer. That's, I think, that the thing that is sort of stopping us all from seeing this how it is. It's the new contract last summer. It's the fact that 2-3 months ago, Luca Digne leaving Everton Football Club wouldn't have even been in any of our minds. It wouldn't have even been a situation. We'd have been sitting here saying, this, that and the other. He'll still be here next season, this, that and the other. So I think that's the thing that is causing that is causing those questions to be asked, and that upset about this move. But from a business side of things, £25 million, if we get that, there's nothing saying we will get that, but if we do get that for him, for a 28-year-old left back who we've already replaced for less than what we're going to sell for, isn't the worst thing in the world. And Mitchell says, get you a businessman or a fan, what are you talking about? It's all about the best players on the pitch. It is all about playing the best players. It is, I agree. And whilst Luca Digne has still been at Everton, he should have been playing. Having him on the bench last week against God, who did we play last week? Brighton. Having him on the bench last week against Brighton and having him, sort of warming up was a disaster. If he was fit and he was, as part of the matchday squad, he should have been starting, because he was the best player to play in that position. I get all of that. However, has Luca Digne been unbelievable this season? No. Has he been unbelievable for the last couple of seasons? No. And at the end of the day, we've just brought in a young left back for 20 odd million pounds in Vitaly Mykolenko. He's going to come in and be the number one left back. And yes, you could say, well, the only reason he's coming in to be the number one is because of the Luca Digne situation. Probably is, yeah. If Luca Digne had no problem and was willing to stay at the football club, Everton probably wouldn't have signed Vitaly Mykolenko, but is replacing a 28-year-old left back with a 22-year-old left back the worst thing in the world? Some people would say, well, that depends on how good Vitaly Mykolenko is. We could be sitting here in 2 months' time, having watched Mykolenko a number of times and saying, what a deal that was. That was a brilliant switch. That was a great bit of business. We could be sitting here saying, why the fuck did we let Luca Digne go? This young lad clearly isn't ready. He clearly isn't, suited to the Premier League as of yet. And maybe we will be saying that because, as I said, when we talked about Mykolenko, when we talked about Nathan Patterson, these lads are going to have a period of settling in. These lads are going to have a period of understanding the Premier League and settling into the league and all that sort of stuff. Making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. They're still two young fullbacks who are coming into a completely new league and a really, really difficult league as well. But I suppose the overall point is Luca Digne is leaving Everton Football Club one way or the other, isn't he? Let's be honest, I think that decision has been made for a long time. Now, Newcastle are seemingly interested, West Ham are seemingly interested, Chelsea seemingly interested. For me, this situation is about getting as much money as we can for Luca Digne, sending him out on loan with no option to buy or no obligation to buy. Well, no obligation to buy really would be pointless. In my opinion, it would be absolutely pointless. It just would. I think it wouldn't offer Everton anything. I think if Luca Digne is going to leave this winter, which it looks like he is by all accounts, I think we've got to try and get as much money as we possibly can from him. And that might lead Everton into a situation where we accept the deal from somebody like a Newcastle, but the player himself doesn't want to move to Newcastle for obvious reasons. So it's an interesting one, and it's going to be interesting to see how this one progresses over the next couple of weeks or so, because I can't see anybody offering what Newcastle would offer, because I think Newcastle, as I said, are desperate to make a statement and desperate to bring somebody in like a Luca Digne, who is an international left back, Premier League experience, this, that and the other. But I don't see Luca Digne wanting to go to Newcastle for obvious reasons, as we said. I think Luca Digne ideally will want to go to Chelsea, but I can't see Chelsea giving us the money that we'd want for Luca Digne. I think Chelsea will try and sort of swindle out a loan move or something like that, and I can't see Everton accepting that. So it'll be interesting to see where he does go, and if there's a middleman in West Ham who come in and say, well, we'll give you £20 million for him, and Luca Digne says, well, yeah, it's down south and they're playing in Europe, so I'll go there. Or whether Chelsea, Everton, sort of play at Chelsea's hand. I mean, would it be the worst? Let me ask the live comments this, and again, I'm completely brainstorming it out there, and I'm not saying that this will happen or this is even rumoured to happen, because it's not. But would Evertonians, would you all be happy if Everton went to Chelsea and said, well, you can have Luca Digne and we'll have Conor Gallagher and give us 10 million instead, and we'll have Conor Gallagher when he returns in the summer, and you can have Luca Digne and you can only have to pay us £10 million? Or go and say, well, we'll have X, Y, and Z on loan with options to buy or with obligations to buy at the end of it, and you can have Luca Digne with an obligation to buy. It's all about the point I'm trying to make is if Luca Digne sat there saying, I am leaving Everton this winter, no doubt about it, I'm leaving this football club, then Everton have got to get the best deal possible for Everton. Ultimately, we've already replaced them, so there's no worries about going out and finding a replacement, because we've already replaced them. So it's about getting the best deal for the club. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second, and if you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Mark says 100%. Gary and Annette says yes, done. Mark says I would snap their hand off for that deal. Philippe says deal. They won't sell Gallagher, they rate him. Will we rate Luca Digne? If they desperately want a good, solid alternative to Ben Chilwell while he's injured, then sometimes you've got to, you've got to do that, haven't you? Mitchell says, if he joins any competitor, we're absolute fools. Chelsea okay, but anyone competing, it just shows we're soft. Well, I suppose, Chelsea, like you said, Chelsea aren't really a competitor, are they? Julian says, straight swap for Loftus-Cheek. Yellow Bean says, think Loftus-Cheek will be a nice pickup, big strong presence in the midfield. Yeah, I like Loftus-Cheek. I've liked them for a number of years now. My biggest problem with Loftus-Cheek is his injury record. And whether or not we could keep him fit enough to warrant that. But he would definitely improve Everton's side, of course he would. Inanda says 100% say Gallagher, we'll make a ton of money off for him in a couple of years. Would you take Alonso? No, says Superfly. Bobby says Dean has stunk for 18 months and is on 110k plus per week. Get rid. Mitchell says Gallagher is probably a few England caps away from being a £100 million player. There you go. Go out there. Listen, Conor Gallagher was a good young prospect in Chelsea's academy. When Crystal Palace went to Chelsea and said, we'll have him for a season and we'll give him Premier League football, and Chelsea went, yeah, sound, that works for us, it works for the player, works for you, sound, Gallagher's gone to Crystal Palace and is absolutely lit it up. And now we're talking about a potential £100 million player if he gets capped for his country. Who's to say that there isn't a number of other players within Chelsea's academy or within anyone else's academy that Everton can go, do you know what? Everton need to stop. For me, we need to stop almost thinking we're beyond that. We're beyond getting young players from bigger clubs on loan and giving them a chance. Hang on. Romelu Lukaku. Mikel Arteta, coming on loan. Steven Pienaar, loan. How many players, how many of Everton's top players over recent years have come in on loan? Why are we beyond saying to teams like Chelsea, we'll have him on loan. We'll have Conor Gallagher. Look at how good Conor Gallagher's been for Palace this season. I'd love Conor Gallagher at Everton. He's brilliant. We are going to talk about Philippe Coutinho in a moment. Superfly Hernandez says Everton can 100% not keep anyone fit, let alone someone who's injury prone. Yeah. Jeff says, well then, you might as well jump. Matty says, I think 10 million and Billy Gilmour, he's class. The problem with Billy Gilmour is he's gone to Norwich and he hasn't had a lot of game time. And that worries me a little bit. If you can't get a lot of game time in that Norwich team, then it's not a great sign, is it? It's not a great sign. Can we need a creative midfield player, says Nicholas. Best mate says no swaps, cash only. Some Evertonians are super stupid. We need to balance FFP. Saka and Rafa only adds to the problem. Yeah, well, again, that's why I would be saying to Chelsea, he's not going on loan. If you want him, you buy him. But again, I'm saying if Chelsea were only going to budge with a loan and Luka Dean only wants to go to Chelsea, then be creative about it. Say, well, we'll have this player, we'll have that player. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second. 174 people watching, 49 likes. If you could get the likes up, that'd be brilliant. Zuma was a loan, says Mark. There you go. Landon Donovan, Pokey says, can you and the lads be in charge, please? Talk so much sense, says Mitchell. Bobsy says, Del Boy. Is Coutinho deal realistic? We'll talk about that in a second. Royston Drenfe. Delafeo was a loan. I'm saying he was great, but we made a tiny bit off him. There you go. Whammy says probably it's Everton. He is going back to Chelsea for sure, says Whammy. I'm sure he is now because of how good of a season he's had with Crystal Palace. That's how it works, isn't it? Mark says, I'm not really bothered by who Dean goes to. We need to focus on the money that will help us. Who cares about who else is he helps as long as it helps us. Fair enough. Let's go to the top of the comments then before we jump back in and talk about Sean Longstaff, who is being heavily linked with a move to Everton. Liam says, yes, Cam, yes, the Blues is right. Liam, Philip says, hi, Wimmy. I can't even get to the top of the comments because there's been that many. Thank you all so much. Honestly, the support on the channel recently has been unbelievable. Weather forecast says, hi, Cam. Jem says, Blues, what's happening, Jem? Wimmy says, we are funny. We are open to sell this player. We won't even let it to smell like grass at Everton. What nutter is going to buy Kabaman? Well, we'll talk about Kabaman towards the end of the live stream because, again, I do think it's definitely a topic worth discussing, isn't it? The new background is Boss Kame, everyone, says Hernandez. Thank you very much, my mate. Big up Joe for smashing it again. Jason says, hi Kame, everybody. Hi Jason. Jonathan says, I would take the midfielder from Lyon. Which midfielder from Lyon, mate? There's a lot of them. Whammy says Phil. Philip says hello. Jem says Whammy. Gord says greetings, Cam and everyone. What's happening, my mate? We're getting low on 30-year-old sick notes, though, so bring on Coutinho, says Whammy. Yeah. Weather forecast says Philippe Coutinho to Everton. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Gavin says £500 million spent, and we're now after Longstaff and on the verge of relegation. Everton for you. Whammy says, Gort, get your member in there, fella. It's only £1. Gort has smashed it there, to be fair. Jem says, think the manager is trying to get Longstaff in a deal involving Dean. Interesting. And Liam says, my thoughts on Dean are he ain't been great for 18 months now, so if you could get 30 odd million-ish for him and replace him with two lads we have done, then that'd be a smart business. There you go. We need to get Cam and Michael, says Whammy. And Stephen says, hi Cam, hope you had a great day, bro. I always look forward to your upload. Thank you very much. And Mitchell says, Cam, you've always been a sound for me as a subscriber. I really want to know if Dean goes to Newcastle. That has to be the end of Rafa Benitez. And surely we need to fume at Machete. Well, yeah, effectively. But I don't think Luka Dean will go to Newcastle, to be honest with you. But Rafa Benitez mightn't even be here by the time that Digne leaves the football club, depending on how we get on Saturday. So let's wait and see. As I said, if you are enjoying it, please do it. That like button does only take a second if you're new. Don't forget to subscribe. Nearly 200 people watching. If we could get to 200, that'd be absolutely unbelievable. Let's have a little discussion about Sean Longstaff then. Let's remind ourselves about the situation regarding him, because you might be sitting there saying, why are you bringing him up, Cam? What's the point? Well, the point is that Everton, according to a number of sources, are actually interested in a move for Sean Longstaff. As I said, it started with Keith Downey from Sky Sports News saying that Newcastle have made a £22.5 million bid for Luca Digne, with Sean Longstaff offered as part of the deal. Now, Keith Downey then come out and said that there was no bid made for Digne, but he did say that Everton want Sean Longstaff and have made a bid. Newcastle are keen to keep the midfielder. Talks have taken place over Digne, and Newcastle are interested. Now, I don't particularly believe that, to be honest with you. I don't particularly think Newcastle are keen on keeping Sean Longstaff. I think what that screams of is Newcastle telling the media or telling certain people that they're keen on keeping the player, so that when, obviously, if a bid does come in or an interest does come in, then, they're looking to be, well, we want to keep him, he's a good player, he's our player. They're not going to come out and say, yeah, he's fucking shite him, you can have him, we'll offer him out, and, if Everton bid for him, yeah, we don't want him, so we'll sell him. They're going to come out and say we're keen on keeping him. He is out of contract this summer, I believe, so anything more than £5 million would be a ridiculous amount of money for a player that's out of contract in the summer, in my opinion. I seen a stat earlier on today that said that only Alan has been dribbled past more than Sean Longstaff this season, which is just typical Everton, isn't it, really? Again, he'd fit right into our midfield then, wouldn't he, next to Alan, as two of the two, Premier League midfielders who've been dribbled past the most. But I don't buy the whole Newcastle want to keep Sean Longstaff. Newcastle are trying to get him to sign a new contract. I don't buy it whatsoever. Obviously, they're going to come out and say they want to keep him. Obviously, they're going to come out and say they want to give him a new contract, because they're not going to come out and say, absolutely shite him, you can have him. Because then we'd go, well, we're not giving you any real money for him because you don't even want him. But as I said, Keith Downey is reporting that Everton are interested in a deal for Sean Longstaff. Craig Hope of the Daily Mail reported that Rafa Benitez wants Sean Longstaff and Everton have made an offer. As I said earlier, Mike Starforth saying that Everton have had a bid for Sean Longstaff rejected, and Newcastle hope that he will agree a new contract at the football club. So, interesting. The Sean Longstaff rumours are fully in flow now. I know this is a very easy rumour to talk about, because Rafa Benitez clearly has a liking for the player. I believe he worked with him at Newcastle, albeit very, very, very briefly. I think his reign at Newcastle saw Sean Longstaff given something like 10 first team starts, and he was sent out on loan twice. He had a number of injuries, so he didn't work with him an awful lot at Newcastle, but albeit he was the Newcastle manager when Sean Longstaff was coming through and breaking through into the first team. And if I'm being honest, this is a deal I could see happening, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Again, listen, is Sean Longstaff a decent footballer? Yes, he probably is a decent footballer. He's a Premier League footballer at the end of the day, so he clearly can offer something. Now, the fact that he is so close to the end of his Newcastle contract says to me, why haven't Newcastle been proactive in trying to, get him to sign a new contract? Maybe Newcastle would say we have, but he doesn't want to. He's 24 years old. As I said, read the stat earlier on today is to say that other than Alan, he's the most dribbled past midfielder in the Premier League, which is worrying, especially considering Alan plays for Everton in that midfield. And there's a lot of comparisons being drawn to the likes of Tom Davies. What would he bring? Would he improve our midfield? Could he come in and do a job? He probably could come in and do a job. He's not the midfielder I'd be looking for personally. I think we need a much quicker midfielder. I think we need someone that's much more athletic. Now, granted, Sean Longstaff is tall. He's big. He's quite a physical presence. He's certainly not by any stretch of the imagination a pushover or a small player, but he just doesn't fill in. He just doesn't fit that criteria of big physical midfield presence for me that I think we should be looking for. And it seems like Newcastle are going to try and use Sean Longstaff as a potential sort of dangle stick for the Luca Digne deal. Now, as I said, that Newcastle can offer Everton every single first team player that they've got. If Luca Dean doesn't want to go to Newcastle, then he's not going to go to Newcastle, is he, at the end of the day? And personally, Fabrizio Romano has said that there's no way Luca Dean will go to Newcastle. Absolutely no chance. I don't think there's a chance Luca Dean will go to Newcastle, if I'm being honest with you. I don't think he'd want to go to Newcastle, as I said, for obvious reasons. And therefore, you know, as I said, it doesn't matter who Newcastle offer if that's the situation. Now, that doesn't mean that Everton aren't separately interested in Sean Longstaff, and Rafa Benitez isn't separately interested in making a deal for the Newcastle midfielder happen. Now, if you were to ask me, again, money, the transfer fee would be a massive, massive decision maker in the situation, out of contract this summer. So if we were to offer even anything more than £5 to £8 million, I think it would be ridiculous, considering if he holds out on a contract and doesn't sign a new contract, he can sign for free in the summer. Is he good enough to get in Everton's first team? Probably, but then again, I think Minan is good enough to get in Everton's midfield at the moment. Our midfield is absolutely atrocious. We lose the midfield battle every single week, and the reason for that is because the manager persists on playing 2 in midfield when it's as clear as day that we need 3 in midfield. And I suppose then what you've got to ask yourself is a midfield 3 of Sean Longstaff, Alan and Abdoulaye Doucouré a good enough midfield to win the midfield battle in a lot of Premier League games, and given the fact that, you know, we've just spoken then about, you know, Sean Longstaff his stats in regards to being dribbled past aren't very good, you would lean towards the suggestion that that's not a good enough midfield 3 and he wouldn't be the right signing for Everton. Now granted, you know, he is playing in a really bad Newcastle side. He's playing in a Newcastle side that are in awful form and have had an awful season so far. I think he's played 13 games for Newcastle this season in the Premier League, scoring 1 goal. So you could say, to be fair to him, you know, if he wasn't playing in such a bad team, then maybe you would see natural improvement. Maybe he would be naturally more dominant as a midfielder in Everton's team. Maybe he'd be better next to a Doucouré, next to an Alan. Now, I don't particularly think Everton's side is much better than Newcastle's, if I'm being honest with you. It certainly isn't performing much better than Newcastle's at the moment. So it would be a massive, massive risk. Now, some would say, well, for minimal price, i.e., £5 to £10 million, it's not a risk at all, and he'd come in, and if he does well, he does well. If he doesn't do well, sure, he won't be on massive wages anyway. We can just sell him or loan him out, and to that I'd say, well, yeah, fair enough. There's no doubt that he's a good footballer because he's playing in the Premier League, but it's not an exciting signing, is it? It's not a Dennis Zakaria. It's not somebody that you look at and go, he's going to come in and he's going to blow the midfield apart. And that doesn't necessarily mean he won't be a good signing. You know, fucking hell, how many signings over the years have Everton made where you look at and go, why are we signing that player? And they've ultimately, they've come into the football club and they've been absolutely brilliant. I remember signing Gareth Barry and thinking, why are we signing Gareth Barry at this stage in his career? And he come in, and for 2 years he was the best player in every single week in an Everton shirt. He was amazing. So that's not to say that because there's not much excitement around Sean Longstaff that he wouldn't come in and improve Everton. Because as I said, at the moment, I think Minan could come in and improve this Everton midfield, but I just don't necessarily think he's the right profile of midfielder that we should be going for. Now, a lot of people would say that that's because we need a creative midfielder, and that's fair enough. We're going to talk about a creative midfielder in a moment, another transfer rumour to discuss there in regards to Philippe Coutinho. But I'd lean more as the fact that I think if you're playing a 3 in midfield, I don't necessarily think, if you play a 3 in midfield and you play a 4-3-3, I don't necessarily think you need, I don't necessarily think you need a creative midfielder. If you've got Anthony Gordon, Damari Gray, Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Andros Townsend, 5 players there that are going to be playing across the front 3 in some capacity. John says, I think that this is without question your best video. I'm not surprised your followers are constantly increasing. Thank you very much, John. Really appreciate that, my mate. If you've got those 5 players that can play in those 3 positions, you've got Anthony Gordon, who's been absolutely fantastic in recent weeks, Damari Gray, who's been a great signing, Andros Townsend's done a decent job, Dominic Calvert-Lewin obviously returning to fitness, the likes of Richarlison, who's absolutely amazing as well. I don't necessarily think you then need a sort of a creative midfielder. I actually think, bear with me here, you might disagree, you might agree, I actually think that Abdoulaye Doucouré could be that creative midfielder if you've got two others behind them doing that defensive work. Now, obviously, one of them is Alan. We've established on a number of occasions, most recently about 2 days ago, that Alan is far too slow to play in this Premier League as a number 6 on his own. And it means that Abdoulaye Doucouré is having to look over his shoulder constantly. Abdoulaye Doucouré is having to sit back. Abdoulaye Doucouré is having to focus a lot on his defensive work. And ultimately, it also means that if Abdoulaye Doucouré has a bad game, a one-off bad game, he doesn't have many bad games, Abdoulaye Doucouré, but if he has a bad game, then all of a sudden Everton are in the shit because Alan can't keep up on his own. So I'd rather Everton go out and buy another Abdoulaye Doucouré-esque midfielder. Tall, athletic, can get about the pitch. Dennis Zakaria fits the mould, but again, there's some questions about his wages at the moment. Somebody that can be there and can, help up Alan, a Gisagana Gay-esque, sweep up next to Alan and allow Abdoulaye Doucouré to not have to focus on that role and allow Abdoulaye Doucouré to push forward a lot more and, get forward and be a sort of creative player. Because we know, listen, out of that midfield, at the moment you've got Doucouré, Alan, Delph, Gabaman, who mightn't be here come the end of the window, we'll talk about in a moment, Tom Davies, Gomez. Now, there's only one player in that side, in that midfield, out of those names I've just picked there, that I would look at and go, he's a creator. He can get forward, he can help the attack out, he can create chances. And that one name is Abdoulaye Doucouré. It's not Andre Gomez. Whatever we think of Andre Gomez and his good cameo appearances once in a blue moon every now and then, he's not a creator. He scored 1 goal in 4 years at Everton Football Club. He's not a creator whatsoever. Tom Davies isn't going to do it. Alan isn't going to do it. Fabian Delph is fucking lost somewhere. And Gabaman, as I said, A, mightn't be here, and B, even if he is here, he isn't that type of player either. So the only one player that is that type of player is Abdoulaye Doucouré. Now, if you get another Abdoulaye Doucouré-esque midfielder, i.e. somebody who's quick, non-stop running, Eid Basuma, David says in the comments, good option, but again, I think Brighton would want a lot of money, and would Eid Basuma leave Brighton to come to Everton? Physical, can get about the pitch, can constantly get about the pitch for 90 minutes, and can fit in a midfield 3, not a number 10, not an attacking midfield, in a midfield 3, next to Doucouré and Alan, then that automatically allows Abdoulaye Doucouré to move forward. It allows him to get in those areas to score goals, which we know he can. It allows him to get in those areas to create chances, which we know he can. So I would much, much rather have another Doucouré-esque midfielder. Dennis Zakaria is a good name, Basuma is a good shout, but again, difficult deals to make. Somebody that's physical, can constantly run around for 90 minutes and can sit next to Alan and give Alan a hand, because ultimately that's what Alan needs. Doucouré is sort of hamstrung being next to Alan because he can't get forward and do his attacking duties because he's worrying about Alan not being capable of keeping up with the play. If you've got somebody next to Alan who can do the running around for him, and Alan can just be the disruptor, if you like, in the middle of the park, winning the ball back, disrupting opposition players, but you've got somebody that does his running around for him, and you've also got Doucouré in there who can get forward, who can create chances, who can score goals. I'd much rather have that than go and get a number 10 or an attacking midfielder who's got no pace, no energy, and is just going to be another slow entity in a midfield. I'd rather have 2 really quick athletic midfielders next to Alan. And let's be honest, with Alan as well, Alan won't be here in 2 or 3 years' time. Alan's into his 30s now. In 2 or 3 seasons, Alan will be gone as well. So we've got to start looking at replacing Alan and who's going to be next, in that position. So that's I'd much rather have that, and I personally don't think that Sean Longstaff fits that bill. I don't. I think he fits more of a bill of a Tom Davies-esque midfielder who's good at footy, good on the ball, but not very quick, not very, doesn't really get about the midfield and can be beaten far too easily. And I just don't think we need any more midfielders of that nature. Now, maybe for a couple of £1 million, the manager might see something different. The manager might see something that I don't see. But I just again, it's not an exciting transfer, is it? And I personally don't think that Sean Longstaff coming to Everton drastically improves. I put it this way: drop Sean Longstaff into this Everton midfield next to Doucouré and Allan. Will we win more midfield battles? Probably, because we'll have a 3 in midfield. But if you put Tom Davies in there next to Doucouré and Allan, we'd win more midfield battles than we do now, because 2 in midfield is a nonsense. Do we drastically improve by dropping Sean Longstaff in there? I don't think we do. I just don't think that's what you need in the Premier League. There's a reason as to why Newcastle clearly aren't that arsed about losing him, because they're offering him out in deals for other players. They might say, oh, we want to keep him, this, that and the other, but they're not that bothered, are they? Let's be honest. They're not that arsed. And if he signs for Everton, then I'll back him. I'll get behind him, of course, I'll back him. But I just think I'd rather Everton target somebody more in the Doucouré mould than another sort of midfielder who's not very fast and probably going to be beaten every time he comes up against somebody half decent in the league. But it clearly, as the newspapers are reporting, as the journalists are reporting, Everton clearly have an interest in Sean Longstaff. Whether or not that deal is done, I'm sure the manager seems to have an interest in him. So I'm sure if the manager's got an interest in him, then the deal is more likely to be done. Whether or not it's got anything to do with the Luca Digne situation, I doubt it, because I don't think Luca Digne will want to go to Newcastle. But there you go. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. We will get back in the live comments in a second. 180 people watching, 79 likes. If you could get those likes up, that would be absolutely unbelievable. It would mean a massive amount to me. We are going to talk about Philippe Coutinho in a moment, and we are going to talk about Jean-Philippe Gbamin as well. As I said, if you are watching and you're new and you're enjoying, please hit that subscribe button. It does only take a sec. We're flying towards 5,400 subscribers now. That would mean a great deal to me. If you could hit that like button, that would be perfect as well. And if you want to join the channel and become a member, it's only 99p. It's the cheapest I could make it. I don't usually ask, but if anybody is interested, it's the join button next to the subscribe button, and it would mean a great deal to me. Superfleet says, yeah, classing. I'd take one defensive mid to start Abel. Well, yeah. Jeff says, Mark, a bit of cement would upgrade our midfield. Chelsea will offer Ross, says Mo. Don't want him. I'm a Miss Dean, says Ludwig. Interesting. Matty says Dutch fella, I think you mean Klassen. Ludwig says no way Barkley returned. He got booed last game against. I don't think Everton would sign Ross Barkley back. Is everyone forgetting Ismaila? Sorry, perfect fit for the Blues. Ismail Sarr would be unbelievable. 100 likes gets a hub cap, says David. If he could hit 100 likes, that'd be amazing. Only 10 to go. 180 people watching. Surely there's 10 people that haven't hit that like button. But we haven't got 180 likes, so there's definitely 10 people that haven't hit that like button. So if we could hit the likes, it would be great. Hit the likes, people. Appreciate the work, says Superfly. Thank you very much, my mate. Mark says, Jeff, you mean like bugs? Bags our lads have been dragging around during the games. When is Rafa getting out the club, says Ryan. We don't know, mate. We don't know. Will it be if we lose on Saturday to Hull? Who knows? Probably not. Probably not. David says, is Longstaff more of a replacement / backup to Allan? Then maybe that's what you know Benitez is looking for is to replace Allan. Because he knows that that over the next couple of years Allan won't be an Everton player. But I just think we need another midfielder in the mould of Abdoulaye Doucouré. I can't express to you how desperate we are for another Abdoulaye Doucouré-esque midfielder. I really can't. Ian says, even in common fellow Blues, think that the ruthlessness of Rafa is going to get rid of the lead weight and hopefully get stability and bring more young players in. Thoughts? Well, yeah, maybe. Well, listen, Rafa Benitez has been very ruthless, certainly given the circumstances with Luca Digne. Obviously, we've been very proactive so far this window in bringing in the likes of Mikalenko and Patterson. I think Rafa Benitez's big problem is the fact that tactically, his decision-making and some of his team selections and decision-making on a match day, doesn't matter how ruthless you are, doesn't matter how good you are in that sense, he's proving at the moment that he's not good enough to manage this team, and we're in a dangerous situation. So that'll be a big thing that Rafa Benitez has got to get over. But in terms of his ruthlessness, yeah. Would you bring back Moyes when West Ham sack him in the next 2 or 3 years? We could be in a we don't know what situation we're going to be in back then, do we? Brother says, Cam, the comment from Mark was in reply to me having a core midfield for a 4-3-3, 2 defensive and 3 attacking. Well, you would have 2 defensive midfielders, one Indecore, who's a box-to-box, and then your 3 forward players, wouldn't you? In my opinion, anyway. Dobbin is third choice striker, in your opinion, says Harvey. Dobbin or Sims. It depends who's second choice, doesn't it? Is Richarlison second choice? Tossin still at the football club. I'd rather lose to Hull if it gives us a chance to get rid of Rafa. We aren't going to win the cup anyway. I don't think he'd go even if we do lose to Hull, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm wrong. There'll definitely be a lot more pressure on him, but I just can't see the club sacking him anytime soon. CB says, should Everton follow suit of other clubs and appoint an ex-player as manager, such as Tim Cahill? Well, if it was to be an ex-player, it would be Duncan Ferguson at the moment. And if Rafa Benitez was to leave, I wouldn't be opposed to Duncan Ferguson becoming the manager. Rafa needs to go, said Ludwig. Matty says, how about McNeil, Cam? Would you take him? He would cost an awful lot of money, and again, I question whether he's got enough pace for this league. I do. Mitchell says, we've just sold France's best left-back for Ukraine's best left-back, and bloody angry. I'm sorry. That's fair enough, mate. That's absolutely fair enough. I don't blame you for being frustrated. Loads of comments today. We're not going to be able to get through all of them, but thank you all very, very much for all of the comments. It does mean a massive, massive amount to me. I'd swap Holgate for McNeil. I'd swap Holgate for a pack of McCoys, if I'm being honest with you. Mark 2 or Mark 4, don't like Mark 3, says GM. Dennis says Cahill isn't a manager. Sure, if you like, I suppose it could be a micro hubcap. Still talking about getting cars for me. I've just had the car fixed. I'm driving my mum's Fiat Punto, and I've just had it in the garage and fixed. I've literally been driving it for 2 weeks, and I've already spent £180 on it because something went in the wheel, something or another. So I've just had this car fixed, so I think we'll keep with this one for a moment. But yeah, if you want to buy me a micro, then either drop a super chat or become a member. I'd like Ndidi from Leicester. Heard he wants to move, says Pokey. Again, good option. Superfly says Cahill coaching, no one has his badges. Yeah, he's over in Dubai, I think, isn't he? Or Saudi, Dubai. No, he's in Dubai, isn't he? I think, yeah. Mark 1 gem with a full kit and new rims. Daniel says thoughts on Idrissa Babu. Wouldn't be surprised if we go for him. I've not really seen much of him, if I'm being honest with you. Johnson from Nottingham Forest might come to Everton. We're being linked with him again, I've seen. Jake said, where are we getting this money from? Obviously, balancing the books over the last couple of months. We've had James leave, we've had Moise Keane leave, we've had another couple of people obviously leave the football club. I'm sure the club are bagging on the Luca Dean money as well. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Only does take a second. Let's talk about another transfer rumour then. That is ultimately why we are here. We are here to talk about transfer rumours, and this one was reported about 24 hours ago, and it is according to ESPN UK, and they have said that Everton have held talks over a deal for Philippe Coutinho. There's an internal debate at Everton with the owner Farhad Mashiri keen on signing Coutinho, while manager Rafa Benitez is not yet on board. Very, very, very interesting. It is worth saying that since that rumour was put out there by ESPN, there's a couple of journalists who are reporting that Aston Villa are heavily linked with a move for Philippe Coutinho, and apparently Philippe Coutinho has held talks with Aston Villa, and also Sky Sports reported yesterday that there are numerous Premier League sides interested in Philippe Coutinho, and that he will make his decision this weekend on which one to join. So really, really interesting. There has been another rumour regarding Sean Longstaff, and it is coming from Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, and Craig Hope has said that Newcastle United rejected the bid in the region of £1 million for Sean Longstaff from Everton. So, you know, again, £1 million. If he comes in for £1 million, then it mightn't be the worst signing in the world, considering that he's another option, he's another midfielder, he's Premier League experience, and yeah, he's costing £1 million. So there you go. But anyway, Philippe Coutinho, obviously desperate to get a move to the Premier League. Of course he is. Why would he not be desperate to get a move to the Premier League? He's currently not having the best time at Barcelona. He's very much in and out their side, more so out than in. He obviously had his most successful years in the Premier League at Liverpool, so it would make massive amounts of sense is for him to want to return to the league. I think one thing to note is that this Philippe Coutinho now isn't the Philippe Coutinho that left Liverpool 4 or 5 years ago. He's 4 or 5 years older. He's had a number of injuries since then, and as I said, he's an older player. He was fantastic when he was at Liverpool. He was, as much as we mightn't have liked him, or we mightn't have liked to admit it, he was fantastic at Liverpool. And it clearly wants to move back to the Premier League. Now, as I said, it is worth noting that since ESPN reported that, Aston Villa are the team that have sort of jumped, I wouldn't say jumped the queue then, but I don't really think Everton should be in the queue, to be honest with you. They've sort of, progressed a lot more than than everybody else has, and that would make sense. Obviously, Aston Villa manager Steven Gerrard, former teammate of Philippe Coutinho. There was a report going around the internet as to say that Coutinho is a little bit shy, a little bit of an introvert, and often needs somebody to put his arm around them and sort of maybe, I don't want to say baby him, but certainly put his arm around them and take them under their wing. And if anybody is going to do that, it will obviously be Steven Gerrard, of course, having played with Philippe Coutinho before. I don't think Rafa Benitez is the type of manager to put his arm to put a player under his wing and try and carry a player like that. But yeah, listen, for me, I wouldn't be going anywhere near this deal. I don't think Everton will, to be honest with you. I do think he'll go to Villa. Makes much more sense for him, and it makes much more sense for Aston Villa as well. But I personally just wouldn't be going anywhere near Philippe Coutinho. On his day at Liverpool, he was an unbelievable footballer. There's absolutely no doubt in that whatsoever. But he's currently 29 years old now. He's 30 in June. As I said, he's not had the greatest of times at Barcelona in regards to injuries and in regards to just being chosen really for that Barcelona team. It happens a lot with these players, is they become fantastic players and they get their moves to your Barcelonas and your Real Madrids, etc., and then it doesn't quite work out for them, and then a couple of years later they're looking for a move back to where they've come from to try and reignite their career again. And I'm not saying that technically Philippe Coutinho still isn't a good footballer, because I'm sure technically he's still a fantastic footballer, and I'm sure he could come into Aston Villa and maybe do a job, but I just don't think Everton need another player who would be on ridiculous wages with a bad injury record. Also has played for Liverpool. Let's not just skim over this. People will go, don't care if he's played for Liverpool, but look at what happened with Rafael Benitez. Couple of defeats, couple of bad performances, and don't get me wrong, I've said before, and I'll say it again, I don't understand how Rafa Benitez is still the manager of Everton, but after a couple of defeats, after a couple of bad performances, that Liverpool connection was brought up quite a lot. So it will be brought up with Philippe Coutinho as well. If he turns up and he's walking around or he's not seemed arsed, that would be brought up, of course. And I just don't think it's the type of player Everton should be going for. I don't think Everton should be looking at any players of that sort of age with his injury problems. The same reason as to why I really hope Everton are not looking anywhere near Aaron Ramsey, who is being confirmed that he'll be leaving Juventus this winter as well. I hope Everton aren't even entertaining that deal, because again, it's another 28, 29-year-old player with massive injury problems on ridiculous wages. It's the exact type of player that Everton shouldn't be looking at trying to bring in, but the exact type of player that historically Everton have looked at to bring in. And as I said, again, technically wise, and as a footballer, I'm sure Philippe Coutinho is still a very good footballer with a lot to offer. But I just think it's far too big of a risk for Everton to take, especially given our financial situation and especially given the situation that we're in the league as well. But as I said, since those rumours, it has been brought up that Aston Villa apparently are really, really interested in him, and if he's likely to go anywhere, it's probably there. So doubt that Coutinho will come to Everton. However, as I said, if it was Everton that were heavily interested and it was only Everton, I wouldn't be too pleased with this deal, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Technically a good player, but again, not particularly quick. Isn't what I don't think Philippe Coutinho is what teams need to be successful in the Premier League in this day and age. I just don't think he is that type of player. As I said, you've got to have physicality, you've got to have ability to get about the pitch, you've got to be able to win the battles, you've got to be able to battle with people. I just don't think Philippe Coutinho is that. Technically, as much of a good footballer as he might be, I just don't think he's that. But as I said, Aston Villa heavily linked with him anyway, but I just thought it was worth talking about because ESPN had rumoured it. And then the final transfer rumour of today's live stream is surrounding Everton midfielder Philippe Gbamin. The Liverpool Echo reported earlier on today that, bear with me 2 seconds, that, where are we? John Philippe Gbamin. In fact, there's another transfer rumor. We'll talk about Gbamin in a moment. Let's talk about Yerry Mina. Corriere dello Sport have tweeted that Yerry Mina is a player under consideration for AC Milan. Yeah, in the Yerry Mina one is interesting for me. If you are enjoying, by the way, please hit that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new as well. That would mean a great deal to me. The Yerry Mina one is interesting for me because ultimately Yerry Mina is our best centre-back, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. However, his injury record and his fitness record is a massive, massive worry. And ultimately, he's got 18 months, 17 months left on his contract, I believe. And if Everton were to receive a decent bid in whether it be in January or in the summer, I think it would be silly for Everton to not accept. Now, I love Yerry Mina. I think he's amazing. I think personality-wise, he's obviously one of the biggest personalities in the dressing room. When he's fit, he is absolutely, our best centre-back. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's our best centre-back when he's fit. And he clearly brings an awful lot to this team. The whole back line perform much, much better when Yerry Mina's in there than when Yerry Mina isn't in there. But given his injury problems and given his contractual situation, a decision needs to be made with Yerry Mina, one way or the other. A decision needs to be made. The club either need to, if they receive a bid, accept it and sell him, or give him a new contract, because he's only got 17 months left on his contract. So very, very shortly, Yerry Mina will be able to negotiate with other sides and potentially even join other teams, for free in the coming years or so. So a decision needs to be made. We either need to give him a new contract, or we either need to sell him. Now, I think the more sensible decision at the moment would probably be to sell him. As much as that kills me, because I think he's a fantastic footballer, fantastic defender, and obviously an unbelievably, personality in the dressing room. I just think, can we afford to be carrying a player that spends 2/3 of a season out injured, given the current situation that we're in? I don't know. Now, in terms of this rumour, do I believe it to be true? It might be. I'm sure AC Milan and other teams are probably monitoring various amounts of players. It's obviously nothing too serious. It's obviously nothing too down the line, because nobody else is reporting it, and it's just a newspaper report from Italy, in which we've seen a number of them over the years. But there's definitely a decision that has to be made with Yerry Mina. I want to hear everybody's thoughts on Yerry Mina before we go. If we got a decent bid, let's say we got a £25 million bid for Yerry Mina, would you sell him or wouldn't you sell him? Let us know in the comments section, live comments, before we do finish up. And then, let's talk about Jean Philippe Gbamin before we do finish. The Liverpool Echo reported earlier on today that Jean Philippe Gbamin has been told he can leave Everton this month. The Blues midfielder is likely to look for a loan move away from Goodison, but the club would be open to selling him. Gbamin has attracted interest from clubs in Germany and Italy, but a move is not yet thought to be close. Again, with the Gbamin stuff, sad really, I suppose is the terminology I'd use. Disappointing to see that, again, this could be the end of Jean-Philippe Gbamin's Everton career. Personally, I would rather Everton loan him out than sell him. But if Everton were to receive a decent bid, then it would be almost ridiculous to reject that bid or to not sell the player on the basis that he spent so much time out injured over the years, and on the basis that, we, again, financially, we could do with making as much money as possible. I think a loan move for Jean-Philippe Gbamin would make more sense. Try and get him out, whether it be to Germany or whether it's even to the Championship. Get him somewhere where he's playing week in, week out, where he's playing consistently, where he's going to, where we're going to be able to have a real good look at him and see, if he can keep his fitness for an entire season or for an entire, second half of the season, but also B, how capable he is as a footballer, how good of a footballer he is. Is he technically good enough to be a part of this Everton team? Go and, see what he can bring before making that decision. But I also understand that if the club have got two options, you loan him out or you sell him for a decent amount of money, given that there's a risk there that he mightn't be good enough, given there's a risk there that he mightn't be able to stay injury-free for a sustained period of time, you would probably take the money, which would be disappointing because knowing our luck, as I said with Luca Digne, knowing our luck, he'd go to somebody else and he'd be absolutely world-class because that's just what Everton do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, a decision, again, certainly needs to be made with Jean-Philippe Gbamin. And I personally would like to see him go out on loan and see what he can offer for the last, couple of months of the season, and then see if he can come in the summer and be good enough. I've seen a couple of people on Twitter and social media today talking about potentially, having him keeping him at the football club and playing him as a centre-half. Now, I think he's quite a way away from being fit enough and match fit enough to play in the Premier League, as we saw in the game against Wolves early on in the season. But that's an option. That's an option for Rafael Benitez ultimately because, again, our centre-back situation is dire at the moment. I think we should be looking at bringing in another centre-back personally. But, the club have clearly got a stance there on Gbamin, and that stance clearly is that he'd be free to leave in this window if the right amount of money comes in or if the right situation occurs. I personally would rather it be a loan deal, but we'll wait and see. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comments. If you're enjoying, by the way, before we finish up, please hit that like button, 114. If you could get the likes up before we finish, that would be absolutely amazing. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Nathan says, Mark, I like it. Mark says, Gbamin to the Championship will be a great loan. Get him to Rooney at Derby. They need players and Rooney will sort them. Yeah, again, Championship, playing every week, seeing if he can keep that fitness, seeing if he can keep that, level of fitness up for the rest of the season. I think that would be a good move for all parties. But again, I suppose it's if Gbamin wants to go there. Gbamin might be offered an offer from the Championship or an offer from Germany, and he might think, well, I'd rather just go to Germany and play, in the top division there. I suppose it depends, doesn't it, really? Mark says, why are we not doing that more? We have Sims, Onyango and other players who could help out of a tough sport, and Rooney is one of us. Well, yeah, again, I suppose it just depends on... we can't just loan everyone out as well, can we? We've got to keep some players for ourselves. Jason says, was Gbamin a Marco Silva signing? Even if not, maybe a loan to a club like... He was a Marco Silva signing. He was. I'd sell Mina. Mina is good, but he's made a Weetabix, says Jeff. Matty says, we are short on quality centre-backs already. If we sold Mina this January, we'd need to find another centre-back. They're tough to find for a reasonable price. Good point. Very, very good point, my mate. Nathan says, I'd give him one more year. I want to see Gbamin do well. Interesting. Terry says, I love Terry. I assume Yeri, but he just doesn't play. 3 times for Colombia in a week and 30 minutes for us is no-brainer to sell. Interesting. 60 million Andre, says Superfly. Pokey says, love the guy, think he's a great player. Mina, but he's too injury prone and we need a stable, consistent back line. Maybe the Prem is taxing on him and that's why he gets injured. Maybe. Mark says we should sell Yeri. He's one of my favourite players in the dressing room, important to the dressing room and the best defender, but he's made out of biscuits. Get money while we can and improve our overall standing, potentially. Anze says, how much do you think DCL is worth to Everton? A lot of money. I just love Mina way too much, says Tobias. Jess says Coutinho only works on the side that dominates possession, as which we don't. Brother says, would be quicker. Mention the people we want to keep rather than get rid of. List is rather small. Yeah, it is. Wayne says, we might, we're not that we're already carrying a squad. Sell Mina, bring in Dan Axel, Zagadou from Dortmund, says Tom. Superfly says 30 million. I would take that for Mina. We probably wouldn't even get 30 million for him, to be honest with you. But he is at a decent age. Surely sell. Yeah, it says Dennis. Matty says, if we sold Mina... we just read that one out. Nathan says, I think Vitali and Patterson show invest in youth gems. Yeah. He says, there's a player called Kamara at Plymouth who is looking good. Yeah, he has to go with his candy cane legs. Good when he plays. I agree. Superfly says, Jeff, that was Wormy. Coutinho is joining Villa. Get it out your heads. He seemingly is at the moment, but I just thought we'd mention it because he was linked with Everton. I'm pissed about JPG. I wanted him to be great and got beyond messed up. What a waste. I wanted him to come and storm through the midfield. I think we all did, mate. I think we all did. And again, it's not his fault, the situation that he's been put in. It is what it is, I suppose, isn't it? There's nothing much... there's not much we can do about it. Not much we can do about it. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it up there then. If you have enjoyed this one, please do hit that like button. We've spoken about Digne, we've spoken about Sean Longstaff, we've spoken about Yerry Mina, Jean-Philippe Coutinho, Philippe Coutinho. We've spoken about an awful lot in this live stream, so if you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Once again, a massive thank you to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. Sorry I couldn't get involved with all of the comments, but I really do appreciate everybody for getting involved. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll try and get involved with as many of them as we can. We will be back tomorrow with the game preview to Everton's FA Cup fixture against Hull, so don't forget to look out for that one around about the same time, 4:15. We'll be live with that one. And Rafa Benitez has done an interview today talking about Vitaly Mykolenko and Nathan Patterson, as well as the season so far, so we're going to do a little video later on today talking about that and just giving my thoughts and opinions on that one, so look out for that one. If you are new to the channel and you're thinking, how do I keep up to date with all of this Boss Everton content, hit that subscribe button. It literally only takes a second. It means a massive amount to me, and as soon as we upload a video, you'll get a little notification. If you hit that bell icon, you'll get a little notification as soon as we upload, and you'll be able to be one of the first to get involved in the streams or the videos, etc. And if you want to join the channel and you're interested, as I said, I don't ask people, but it is only 99p. It's the cheapest I can make it, and it's the join button next to the subscribe button. Eugene says, see you about the toffees and have a good night. Thank you very much. Jem says, take it easy, Blues. Cheers, Jem. Ananda says, take care, guys. Cheers, mate. You too. Jeff says, laters. Wimmy says, see you guys. Is right, everyone. Once again, a massive thank you to everybody for watching. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments as well. If you're watching as a YouTube video, get your comments down below. Big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you after. Cheers for watching. See you after.